Hey, I'm James. Welcome to Alternate Sides, a podcast about movies, parking, and a 25-year friendship. This week, we're cracking open Michael Mann's gritty debut feature, Thief, starring James Caan and Tuesday Weld. Can you guess whether I managed to make it through the tense climax of the film without switching it off? Along the way, we also talk about spa treatments, house cats, and Pink Floyd knockoffs. Here we go. Whoa! I'm going to guess that you're not a spa guy.
Spa?
Yeah.
Fuck off. Sit there and get what? Rocks put on you.
It won't surprise you to hear that I'm not a beach holiday guy.
No. Beaches are the worst.
But I was just in Miami for a couple of days and at a hotel and spa. And
hang on one sec before you get into this. I got to move the car. I got to drive. Is that all right? I'm going to drive with these big headphones on.
I think you're fine. What do you think's going to happen? Someone's going to honk and you won't hear it?
Well, that doesn't matter, as you know. Oh, don't hit that guy.
Why do you have to move? I thought the whole thing is you just sit in the car and wait for the time to go.
Well, yeah, but I got to get to the place. I'm in the wrong place right now. I'm in the Friday 11:30 zone. I've got to get down to Dean Street, you see.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you were saying spas. Yeah, spas are silly, aren't they?
Yeah, so I'm not a spa guy, and I'm not a massage guy. It's just
massage. No.
It's not for me.
No, I can imagine.
But they had some therapies down there that were touchless wellness. So they don't involve you being manhandled or woman-handled, as the case may be. So I did one thing. Which was called the VEMI, which stands for vibroacoustic electromagnetic and infrared therapy.
Uh-huh.
You go into this room. First of all, you're waiting in like your robe or whatever in like the waiting area where there's like
already they've got you in a compromised situation.
Little mists of sandalwood and whatever, rosemary or whatever, and then they lead you back, Mr. Levino, and then they lead you back into this room.
We'll be humiliating you in this room. Yeah.
There's a strange like booth to the left, which is first of all, the room is very dark, and then to the left, bathed in red light, is this booth that I wasn't involved in, and then in the middle of the room, there's this kind of lounge chair, like a chaise, like a big it has this
seems like something out of David Lynch.
Border of blue like neon around the outside, right? And then weirdly there's this like silver mirrored just mannequin standing on the side of the room. Like, do you remember in really Annihilation, the end of Annihilation, where Natalie Portman has to like wrestle with that like weird other version of herself or whatever it is?
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so they sit right down, Mr. Levino. So I lie down. They give me these blackout glasses.
Yeah.
And then she just, are you parking? What are you doing?
I'm parking.
I feel like I've lost you a little bit.
No, I'm just focused on the curb distance, but I'm with you.
So they put the blackout thing on me, and then they put these headphones on me, and then it's 25 minutes, and she's like, I'll be back in 25 minutes. So they got the headphones on.
Wait, what's happening? What are the headphones? Oh, because they're going to vibrate.
No, the headphones are playing this chord. Da, 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 just like this like major triad add 9 chord, right?
I like that you can differentiate. Oh, what have we got here?
Well, so I'm saying, okay, major triad add 9. And then the chair is vibrating under you and is warm. It's going, and so you're feeling this thing, and this chord is going, and it's not even like a fluty, thin like sound. It's kind of this like grainy, like thick texture. And then every once in a while, this bass comes in, and the whole chair goes, this big vibration, and like an earthquake kind of thing. And this goes on for 25 minutes. The chord doesn't change for 25 minutes. It's just playing.
Of course. Oh, the guy just gave me the okay. Sorry to interrupt you. The guy just gave me the okay. Thumbs up.
Who?
The traffic warden. See, I was right on time, 8:45.
Right on time. He gave you the thumbs up. It's the headphones. That's why he said, ooh, that guy must be doing something important in there.
He's doing a podcast. It's a new thing they do.
So 25 minutes of that. And then the end was very unceremonious. It was just like she came in and like switched it off. There was no like fade out or anything like that.
I mean, this sounds like it would be annoying.
It was not, yeah, I didn't feel like it was terribly restful. Like I thought like, well, there are two kinds of therapy, right? Like there's a relaxing therapy where you might fall asleep, and then there's like an invigorating therapy. And maybe this is supposed to be the invigorating therapy. So anyway, I didn't love that too much. But you know what I did love is the sauna. Sitting in the sauna, just sweating, just fucking letting it go for
schwitzing.
Yeah, and then going into the igloo room.
Oh no, I don't know about the cold. I don't know about the cold room.
Your place was empty.
That sounds terrible. That all sounds terrible. I'm very glad I wasn't there. I think all the problem is all these things are trying to replicate something very simple but hard to come by. So we, Margie and I, for our honeymoon, we went to Japan. Best trip ever. You remember because you were at our wedding.
I flew across the ocean to attend your wedding.
You did.
And then flew right back like 12 hours later.
Very quick. Stop in.
Get in, make the speech, and get the hell out of there.
But we basically asked for our wedding, we asked everyone just to give us money so we could go to Japan. And we did. And we really just fucking lived it up for 2 weeks. One place that we went to, they have these ryokans, which are these, I suppose, like luxury getaway. I mean, I think the idea is you only ever spend like one night, maybe two. The good ones are sort of tucked away, you can imagine, in like a little grove somewhere. And so this was one of those. And there were two sort of areas that were, they were sort of like baths, I suppose. And they were male and female. But essentially, so Margie went into one and I went into the other. And mine was, and I was all on my own. There's really no one in this place. You end up in this little like natural hot spring kind of thing. Tiny, like maybe 6 or 8 foot square, just like a big tub, but it's projected out from the building in the forest. So you are literally bathing in the forest, and you're there's glass all around you, and you have this hot spring, and but it's you could open the window and stuff, so you could just you see the birds, and you're in the middle of nowhere in this. Now that I think is the ideal version of what everyone's trying to get to. But it's fucking hard to get to.
Very hard to get to.
And so they put a red light and a mannequin and play you the F9. And it doesn't really do the same thing. And it was just unbelievable. Like, just unbelievably peaceful. If I were sitting in a chair vibrating with F9 playing constantly, I would start to get very angry, I think.
Yeah, it was not restful, I would say. Serenity, I guess, is what we're after, right? Some kind of serenity or regulation. But this is the idea with yoga, and you don't like yoga.
No, yoga makes me angry too.
How can yoga make you angry? Maybe you don't like it. Maybe it's not for you.
Because I can't do it. I'm not physically a flexible person. So then they're like, okay, now we're going to do this. No, not just physically. Now we're going to do this. Now we're going to do that. Well, I can't do any of that. And it just makes me annoyed. And then the person is almost invariably incredibly annoying. Now I want you to think about the day, that time when this person did that.
Oh, no. I don't know what yoga you're attending. I don't like that. You modify the positions if you can't do the full, it's like when I do the Peloton bike, like I don't need to be told that the sun shines out of my ass or whatever else. I'm there to work. I like the guy who's just like, we're going to do 9 minutes in zone 5 right now, whatever. And just go,
all of it. But this is all of this. All of this is replacement of something natural. All of it is ways to like. It's terrible. I was thinking this. We've borrowed a cat. We're cat sitting this month for our friends who've gone off to France. The cat is a bit confused because what's the purpose of the cat?
To the person or to the cat? What's the purpose of the cat?
No, to the cat, because the purpose of a cat
the purpose. The cat doesn't have purpose. Is a meaningless
concept. Does. No. The cat has purpose in the wild. The cat gets up and thinks, right, I got to eat, I got to fuck. Let's go. I got to do these two things. That's all I got to do. That's every animal. I got to eat and fuck. And let's carry on. And hopefully I don't get eaten by the fucking wild dogs. And I'll make it to whatever age. And then I'll have kids and they'll carry on. That's the point. But we've taken all of that away from the cat. It no longer has to look for food. It has no chance of mating because it's in an apartment with no contact. So then what's the point of the cat?
So we need to get the cat onto the vibrating chair. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying we've taken a natural thing and removed it from its natural environment and purpose. I just keep thinking, what do you think you're supposed to do? All it does is like kind of fucking wander here, have a bit of food, lie down, look out the window. Must be bored out of its mind.
I
Must be
don't. I
thinking.
don't think that they think in those terms. They're not concerned
Well,
with
I'm
that.
not thinking it's thinking in those terms, but I do think it's probably it hasn't really fulfilled its potential as a
Well,
cat.
look, I've had two kids, and they're growing up and leaving the house. Doesn't that mean I'm redundant now? I should be
Yeah, I
taken
mean,
out and put
close.
out of my misery, right?
Well, no, you're gonna enter your twilight years, sort of like the cat. You're gonna wander around the house, wondering what the point of it all is.
Well, let's if I can use this as a segue to the movie
Please,
Thief.
I'm very curious how you're gonna do that. Go
The
on then.
1981 movie Thief, directed by Michael Mann and starring James Caan. You might ask, well, what is Frank? That's the character James Caan plays. What is Frank's purpose? He's a thief. And like a cat, he doesn't think about, why he's a thief and not an accountant or a bartender.
Well, I might push back a little on that. He's a thief, sure. He's doing it for an end, which is why, in the parlance of these kinds of movies, he's in it for one last score, right?
That's true. Yeah, he wants to retire. I haven't seen Sexy Beast in a while, but I feel like there are some parallels there, not just to the one last score, but to the idea that like the heist itself isn't actually the climax of the movie. The climax of the movie is the showdown between our hero and the person who's hired him or who has leverage over him or whatever. I guess that's true in all the heist movies. We should talk about heist movies because as I think about like Ocean's 11, for example, the heist is wonderful, but it's really about relationships. It's all about relationships.
Any good movie is about relationships.
Well, we can get into that too, because I think Michael Mann's depiction of women is remarkably consistent and remarkably
Lacking.
one-dimensional or two-dimensional at most. But let's start with heist movies. Why do we like the heist movie? I was just reading about this.
I think there's the invention of how you do it, right? Everyone kind of. I remember being in some gallery in Florence with my friend and going like, okay, so if we had to steal this, how do we do it? How do you do it? And putting together the whole thing. There's a fun kind of element to it, and it feels, unlike a lot of other crimes, painless. Doesn't feel like someone's suffering. It's okay. Some artwork got stolen, some diamonds got stolen, big fucking
right.
deal. And it's ballsy and brazen and technical.
Very satisfying when you see them do it.
To see the plan come. It's basically the A-team would do this every time. I love it when a plan comes together. Obviously, there's different versions of that. Mm-hmm. So, like you say, the Ocean's 11 is much more of like the capery comedy kind of version. There's this, which is a much more kind of like 80s, like
I love the tone of it. Great score, by the way, by Tangerine Dream.
I mean, I think quite a strange score, right, at the time. I don't think anyone was doing that. Yeah, like that whole look. I mean, Michael Mann seems to, because this is his first movie.
Well, you see the style immediately, of like the night and like the street lights flashing on the road.
The blue lights, the slick down roads. It's Miami Vice. He has a style. And for the first movie, it's pretty amazing how, like you say, how consistent that style goes on to be.
But just a final thing about the heist thing, like, why is it so satisfying? It's especially satisfying to me. You and I were talking about this the other day in the context of The Bear. It's so satifying to me when a little puzzle is set up. I sound so stupid when I say this, but like when the puzzle is set up and then it's solved, like in Ocean's 11, when you realize, oh, Brad Pitt is the SWAT guy. They've actually come out. They just walked out of it. It's so gratifying, I don't know.
Yeah, solving problems, right?
I guess this is why we like Sherlock Holmes as well so much. He sees a solution where there seems to be no solution, but then it's at the end it seems inevitable, right? It's that impossible yet inevitable feeling that we love so much.
Yeah.
I noticed in the music, the end. So at the end, in the final scene, and then into the credits, there's this kind of like rock, like guitar instrumental, and I immediately was like, this sounds like a weird Pink Floyd knockoff. And then the more time passed, I thought, this is Comfortably Numb. This is a ripoff of Comfortably Numb. And then I was like, oh, The Wall came out November of 79. And so definitely Comfortably Numb was like everywhere during 1980 when they were making this movie. And it made me think that, wonder about whether there was an experience for the composers that has happened to me a lot, which is when a director gets attached to a piece of music, but then they can't get that music. And so they ask you to write something that sounds similar, but not too similar, you know?
That's funny.
Which is always for the composer, an impossible situation.
When we fall in love with the temp.
When you fall in love with the temp, and then it's like, hey, James, you know, we're paying you $1,000 to score this movie, and you don't have an orchestra or anything. But we can't get this Hans Zimmer.
You know what I really like? Bach's Mass in B minor is really great. Can you write something like that? Just something like that. It's really working beautifully.
Yeah, I had a HBO doc where they wanted me to replace this Velvet Underground song. And of course, I couldn't do that, right? And so the director's just like, yeah, I just don't think it's working. And I'm like, no shit, it's not working, because I'm wanting it to be Velvet Underground, and I'm not Velvet Underground.
I'm not Lou Reed.
Yeah, and this isn't a song that you've heard 50 times since you were 16 years old or whatever.
Yeah, that's funny.
Anyway, I'm 90% sure that the outro for Comfortably Numb was the temp music when they edited that.
That's funny. One of the things I think that makes a good, not just a good heist movie, but a good Michael Mann movie and a lot of things movies is the specifics, right? The details. That's what you get from this. Like the opening scene, which is pretty much, there's no dialogue at all. It's like the first heist, right? They go in and it's so technical. It's like you watch Jimmy Caan get this drill and do this thing, then that hammer, and then he goes in here, and it's quite long. I had a friend who was writing a script for Michael Mann. I think the show ended up not happening, but he wrote with him like, over the course of a year or two, and would, you know, give him drafts and sit down with him and have lunch, and they'd go over it.
Oh, wow.
I say, well, what's it like? And he was like, from like the first minute, you realize you're never going to get away with anything that's not hyper specific. And he was like, the research that he does is so insane. So he's like, you could never in a script, you could never say, he said, like, the guy puts whatever, his gun on the table. And he was like, what gun? What kind of gun? You have to put, it's a Glock 9mm, you know, with a this handle. Like every single thing, he was like, what sunglasses? What kind of fucking sunglasses? You can't just have sunglasses. Everything is extremely precise. Like, and he said that he, you know, he's quite old. He's almost 80, but he's like in between like stuff that he was doing with him. He would go off to Vietnam. He was on these boats doing research for another project, and he'd come back telling these crazy stories. And he was just fully just immersed in whatever that project was. He was going all the way into it.
Our beloved mutual friend at one time in New York was doing location scouting work and did a thing for Michael Mann. The way described it, as I recall, is that, like, you know, spends all this time getting the location ready, and they're waiting for Michael Mann to show up, and Michael Mann, like, you know, strides into the room, like looks 10 seconds, and then just says, you stand there, go over there, you stand over there, looks, okay, and then just leaves. Right? Just like, no chit chat.
He knows what he wants. Well, that's the thing about all those characters, right? Like Jimmy Caan, you don't get a lot of soft and fuzzy, you don't get a lot of, he just comes right in, I'm a thief.
Yeah.
But I will say he's very good at getting the character stuff out in different ways, whether it's through the precision of the task in the case of thing, but also like the Willie Nelson as the brother, not the brother, the whoever that guy is,
Mentor.
Like mentor, yeah. He's really good. Like there's that one scene of him is very strange and very good. And Heat is full of scenes, the Insider is full of scenes like that. He's good at men, I guess is the thing. That's what you're saying, that the women are rubbish. He's good at men, and men playing with toys like guns and, you know, bank heists. And
well, I asked Molly if she wanted to watch the film last night. She was like, Michael Mann movie from 1981 with James Caan? No, I don't think so. But it's true that like even in that opening scene, we see him break into the safe, and then this is always a nice touch that he's like tossing aside all of this obviously very valuable stuff. Like, oh,
Yeah, yeah,
he's after something specific. What is that
right,
thing?
yeah,
And it turns out to be jewels.
Jules.
But it made me think a lot of of Heat, which was 15 years after this, and there are a lot of parallels.
Oh yeah,
But the similar like character arc, I guess, is the De Niro character in Heat. It's a similar thing of like he has a code, right? That
mm,
you and in Heat famously, it's you got to be able to walk out the door in 30 seconds and leave everything behind when you feel the
yeah.
heat coming around the corner. And for James Caan, it's that he's his own boss. Like he's his own boss. He only steals jewels and cash.
So yeah, well, that's the one thing. But the other thing, I think that the code is not that. The code is you have to get to a point where nothing means nothing, right?
Mm.
You gotta lose the desire to survive, lose the will to live, and then you will just carry on. So my question to you, we have to get into the ending, because I think that's the interesting kind of part of this. So
But wait, it's very true that I think about this because Neil McCauley, that's his name, right? The De Niro character in
yeah,
Heat, he becomes attached in this relationship, but
exactly,
then
exactly.
also he turns back, right?
Famously,
He's driving away, and then
one of the great moments in movies. How the fuck do you get someone to think something on film and watch him make a decision? And Michael Mann, I think, said in an interview, he's like, when you've got De Niro, you can do that. He's like, you can't really do that with almost anyone else, but fucking De Niro goes into that white
yeah,
tunnel
he's
and you
gone. He's
see him.
free. He's done it. He's home free, and he's driving, and we just hold on his face, and you just see over the course of 30 seconds,
Can't do it.
debating, and then turning around.
Can't do it. And so this is the mistake that James Caan makes, is that because he wants to get out, he does the thing that at the beginning of the movie he says, "I'm not interested. I don't want to work for other people. I don't want to get involved in the
Mm-hmm.
big. I don't want to meet the man, the big gangster. I don't want to do all that. I'm a thief." But
Mm.
he steps outside of his zone in order to make get that one big payday
Because of the girl, because of the relationships.
because of the girl. And it all comes crashing down. So at the end, when the gangster puts the boots to James Caan
Mm.
and says, "You work for me, I fucking own you,"
That's an incredible scene.
he turns quite nasty all of a
Yeah,
sudden, the
it's amazingly
gangster.
shot too. We see it
Yeah,
from
upside down, right?
with the smoke behind him, and he just looks so evil.
So James Caan does what he's supposed to do. He
Mm-hmm.
kicks his wife out and the kid that they bought. He kicks her out and goes after the gangsters.
Mm.
But now at the end, what happens at the end? He walks down, he's killed the gangsters and he's been shot, but
Yeah,
he's all right because he's got a bulletproof vest.
yeah.
Is he going back to Tuesday Weld?
I think so. That's funny
No.
because I saw something online where it talked about the ending as being enigmatic, and I thought,
Yeah.
is it enigmatic? I don't know. I just assumed. I was surprised that he survives. That's what I hate about a movie like this. Just like, oh God, because also, the end of Heat and the end of Collateral and the end of whatever. Actually, I don't remember the end of Collateral, but the Michael Mann movie, like,
He's going to go down, you feel like. But I think he does go down because I think he goes to the place that he was before.
oh,
I
that
think he's lost her.
nothing matters. Get out, he says. Get out.
Exactly. Exactly. He's mean to her. And he's given the money and he's given her all the money and told her, just fuck off out of here. And so then he is back where he started.
Oh, because he has to get to that place in order to go
Exactly.
and kill these guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's a thing you don't come back from once you
Right.
do that.
I don't think he's going to go see her. I think it's over for him, even though he didn't die.
Jeez, that's bleak.
Yeah. That's why I think the ending is really good for that reason.
Hmm.
So you can, yeah, I think, yeah, he managed to solve it in a way that I don't have to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
I can do something worse. I can make him live, but have lost everything that he cared about. And all the progress that he'd made is gone.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I'm sure he didn't either.
I don't like that. I had to take a short break when he goes into the house because it became too much for me.
Short break. What did you do during the
I
short
just
break?
needed to pause it and look at my phone for just a few seconds to remind myself that it was that it was just a movie, because he's in the house and it becomes silent and there's no score even, and it becomes very tense.
They even take
And
out the room tone, I think, at one point. It's like really is silent.
yeah, and I just thought this is a lot for me, and I had to, you know. There's this at work sometimes that I use this like instrument, they would call it, this questionnaire to assess people's tendency to dissociate. And one of the questions is, sometimes people find that they become so engrossed in a movie or TV show that they're watching that they become not aware of other things happening around them. And that's 100% of the time that happens to me. This is why I feel I'm too empathetic.
You're too good a person. Yeah.
That's
too
not
wonderful.
what
I'm too wonderful.
No, we discussed this earlier. That it's not being wonderful has nothing to do with it.
I happen to be wonderful, but that's not the problem.
There are certain things I'm just not, just like I'm not constituted for a hot and humid climate, as I realized in Miami last week. Molly and I went to breakfast at the it was Jean Georges actually place. And it was 7:30 in the morning, so it wasn't, but it was hot, and we cycled for like 20 minutes. And again, it wasn't like powering cycle, whatever. It was just like, on a little 3-speed, whatever. And we got to the place and Molly looked at me and was like, what's wrong with you? I was just like soaking wet, as though I just come in out of the rain. And she was like, you can't go in looking like this. We need to go to the Starbucks across the street and clean you up before you're presentable to go in for brunch. But I'm just not there. It's not, this is what I don't like, is that people are like, what's wrong? We're just going to go to the beach and lie out for a while. And it's like, I don't like that. It's not fun. It's like if I said to you, let's go, and sit in the walk-in freezer for 30 minutes, which I would love. Most people would find that annoying.
Yeah. What else can we say about Michael Mann?
Is it a good movie? Is it a great movie?
It's not a great movie. It's maybe the best. Well, apart from The Godfathers, it's probably the best James Caan has been, right? Mm-hmm. He's really good. It's got some things that are very iconic, like in terms of, I think the style, I think the fact that, but with the first movie, to have your style so already well established and developed is pretty remarkable. And it does point to these other movies. When it came out, I was 20 years old, I guess. And it had been this, finally you're going to get to see De Niro and Pacino in a movie, not like in a movie where they go to the beach together, but a fucking, cops and robbers movie. I remember coming down from Oxford to London, me and my friend, we got the bus down, Empire, Leicester Square, opening night with my parents, and the credits come up and the two names come up together, De Niro and Pacino, and the fucking place went mental. Yeah, fucking let's go. So excited. It was like about the peak of movie exuberance and like excitement about a movie that I could imagine was that movie coming out then. He's a sneaky one, right, Michael Mann? Because you don't think of him, maybe you do, I don't think you think of him as like one of the great directors, but he sort of occupies a very specific space, and he's always been doing it.
That's true. I haven't seen Last of the Mohicans, but which I hear is very good.
Yeah.
But I just think Heat and The Insider back to back is pretty remarkable.
I think The Insider is incredible. I love that movie.
That's probably one of the only good Pacino performances since 1990. There, I said it.
No, you're totally wrong about Pacino.
I don't know. I posit that if we lost all the Pacino before like 1988, let's just say 1990, he would definitely be considered a very, very good actor. But I don't think he's. But De Niro is kind of the same. I hate to say it, but that's fine. You know what I mean? That's fine. A lot of people, they make their best stuff, and then they make stuff that's maybe less good. I haven't even made best stuff, so I don't. Let's pivot, because 1982. Ooh, boy. What a year. What a year at the movies. 1982 was, my friend. Here are movies from 1982 I have seen. So these are just the ones I have seen. Blade Runner, E.T., Star Trek II, Tron, The King of Comedy.
Oh, that's a good one.
48 Hours, Tootsie, The Verdict, Rocky III, Diner. A movie I I loved as a child, weirdly, Firefox, which is like a very forgettable Clint Eastwood movie.
It's so boring. You love that movie? I remember being so amped up for this movie, and it showed it on TV. And me and my dad, we used to watch all those spaghetti western, Fistful of Dollars and all that kind of stuff. And so this movie was like, they were promoting the hell out of it, I remember. And we watched it, and we were both like, it's so boring. Nothing happens at all.
It's probably very boring now, except in the climax, he steals like some kind of MiG or some
Finally
other,
gets in a plane at the end. We wait 2 hours. Oh my
Soviet
God.
fighter. And the thing is that if you think in Russian, you can control the plane by thinking.
So stupid.
Also, 1982, a movie that has one of the great gags in it, I think, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, the Carl Reiner movie, which is Steve Martin intercut with a lot of classic noir movies.
That's right.
So taking a lot of collage like bits of scenes from noir movies and then shooting some new stuff with Steve Martin. And as we've discussed, I'm not a huge Steve Martin fan, but there's a gag in this where he makes coffee, which is amazing. It's a sight gag where he gets a saucepan and he cracks like an egg into it, and then he gets his coffee grounds and he starts shaking coffee grounds into the pot. And it's one of those things that probably goes on for like 50 seconds of him just so that it's hilarious, and then it becomes weirdly not funny, and then it becomes really funny. Also 1982, Koyaanisqatsi.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good year.
Good year.
It's a shame you've seen The Verdict. I would have picked that as a movie to watch.
Well, I only watched that for the first time, I think, when I was in Australia, so a couple of years ago.
Oh, wow.
All right, here we go. Movies I haven't seen, 1982. The Thing.
Always starts with a weird horror movie. I don't know why you're thinking eventually I'm going to cave. Oh, go on. Let's watch Nightmare on Elm Street.
I don't know. I just think The Thing is, The Thing is the thing. Conan the Barbarian.
I remember Conan the Barbarian came out, and it was, it was rated 15.
Mm-hmm.
And so I obviously couldn't go to the cinema. And I was so upset because I was like, this movie is for me. And I remember my dad being like, yeah, it's true. This is stupid that you shouldn't be able to see it. Mm-hmm. He's like, when it comes out on video, we can get it. And then, of course, by the time it did, I didn't want to see it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Mm.
Now, that's one where I think a lot of my friends would be really shocked. Like, how can you not have seen that?
That's true.
That's sort of an iconic 80s, like Gen X 80s comedy.
Yeah.
Not a great movie, but a seminal movie in a lot of
ways.
Well,
yeah, it's just those characters and those lines, certain lines,
First Blood.
Mm. It's a big year for Stallone.
Yeah, he had quite a run. I think there was it Rambo? It might have been the year where like Rambo and Rocky IV were like the number 1 and 2 movies of the year.
Well, this year, I mean, this looks like Rocky III and First Blood. That couldn't have been far behind.
Poltergeist.
Okay.
That movie I was very scared to watch as a child. They're here. It's just commercial. I mean,
it's not scary at all. You'd have no problem watching that.
Mm-hmm. An Officer and a Gentleman.
Yeah, that's another Richard Gere. My aunt loved that movie.
Summersby. I can't not include the Gere movies now. All right, those were a little, but now we're getting into a couple of heavy hitters. Sophie's Choice.
Ooh, yeah. Dear Meryl. Do you ever read that book?
No, I've never read any Bill Styron.
You've never read anything of his?
No, I know you're a fan of Lie Down in Darkness, right?
Yeah, amazing book.
Gandhi.
You've never seen Gandhi. How have you not seen Gandhi? So amazing. I just listened to Ben Kingsley was on Mark Maron. Did you hear that?
No.
He's quite pleased with himself.
Who was it? Your friend who does the Ben Kingsley?
He says he can't watch any Ben Kingsley movie. It's Daryl. He says he can't watch any Ben Kingsley movie. Oh, here comes the street sweeper. All right, mate. Oh, Christ, he almost clipped me.
Because you're not supposed to be there.
Because I'm not supposed to be there. He doesn't give you a chance, though. He says he can't watch any Ben Kingsley movie because all the time as he's watching Ben Kingsley, he just sees in Ben Kingsley's head, Ben Kingsley going, aren't I nailing this? Which is true. He seems so pleased with himself. He is very good.
The Year of Living Dangerously.
Yeah, okay.
Peter Weir.
Well, your favorite. I'm surprised you haven't seen that for that reason.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I've saved the big one for the end. You ready?
Yeah.
Fanny and Alexander.
Oh, yeah. Now we're talking. That was a fucking movie. Now, the only question is, should we watch the 3 and a bit hour version or the like 6 hour version?
Yeah, so what was it? It was made for TV originally? Is that it? There's like a 5 and a bit hour version and a 3 and a bit hour version.
Yeah. So I don't know which is I don't know which one aired first, actually. That's a good question. I don't know if I've ever seen the really, really long one. It's got to be Fanny and Alexander, as you know.
But wait, but why does it have to be Fanny and Alexander?
First of all, Bergman, one of the absolute fucking greats of the media. This is the film he basically ended with. And he did make some stuff after this. He made some TV movies and stuff over the next 20 years. He did little things. But this was him saying, I'm going to do this one and then leave. And he wasn't that old. We'll save the discussion of the film for next time. But I think it is one of the great movies in my mind. And it contains a little bit of everything. Yeah. I don't want to say too much about it. I won't say anything more about it. But it should definitely be that. And because we haven't really talked, I guess in the other years, I think if you were really to hit the big ones, you'd have to go back before we started, probably to like Persona and some of the Winter Light and some of the Cries and Whispers is probably in our era. Did you ever see that?
No. Here's what Wikipedia says about Fanny and Alexander. It was originally conceived as a television miniseries and cut in that version, spanning 312 minutes. So that's, what is that, 5 hours, 12 minutes. A 188-minute cut version, just a mere 3 hours, was created later for cinematic release, although this version was in fact the one to be released first. So the shorter one was cut second, but released first. The television version has since been released as a complete film, and both versions have been shown in theaters throughout the world. The 312-minute cut is one of the longest cinematic films in history.
If that's not daunting enough for you.
And it's also in Swedish.
I can see them flocking to the theaters for this one.
Well, I feel like we have to watch the longer one. No, I don't know, especially if you've never seen it.
I'm down. We can watch the longer one. I remember there are a couple of things that get elided in the shorter version that don't quite make sense. Or they're kind of more mysterious, I suppose. Like where they come from.
Right.
And but it's okay if we're watching the really, really long version. We're still considering it a movie.
I might have to take an intermission in the middle.
Oh, I wouldn't recommend watching it in one sitting.
All right, I got a split.
All right, so
Fanny and Alexander, the long version.
Ingmar Bergman, the long one, all the way.
So long, mate.
All right, cheers.
And that's that. Next week, we close out the podcast's first decade of films with Ingmar Bergman's cinematic swan song, Fanny and Alexander. You can find the long version on the Criterion channel. Definitely worth a look if you have the time. See you next week.